For the main opposition, People's Democratic Party, PDP, the wait is over regarding the choice of a running mate for its presidential candidate in the 2023 elections. Atiku Abubakar, at the PDP Secretariat in Abuja, Atiku announced the governor of Delta State, Ifeanyi Okowa, as his running mate. All eyes are now on the presidential candidate of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, to unveil his running mate. The clock ticking towards the deadline on Friday as we await who that will be. The chief whip of the Senate, Senator Orji Uzor Kalu, has lent his voice to the debate over the Muslim debate confronting the APC. And according to Senator Kanu, there is nothing absolutely wrong if the APC decides to field a Muslim ticket for the 2023 presidential election. He said without it, APC may not win the election. But first, let's hear from Atiku.
Accordingly, let me say that the person I have chosen as my running mate possesses those identified qualities. He personifies not only the seriousness the current moment represents for our country bound 2053. I am pleased therefore to announce here.
I'm just reminded that I'm not accepted. Now, I'm wondering who would have failed to accept this kind of offer that has been made. I accept wholeheartedly, and in accepting so, I want to pledge that I'm going to stay loyal and committed to the cause of this battle, and it's the battle that God has gone ahead of us.
This gentleman speaking there. Let me start with you, Kolawole. Are you impressed with Atiku's choice?
Well, you know, the political scientists will tell you that there are different forms of analysis. The normative will look at the norm. What is ideal? If all things being equal, what should you do? But unfortunately, things are never equal. You have the PDP presidential candidate from the Northeast. Northeast is the minority zone when it comes to the northern region in terms of voting strength. The Northwest, I think, has about 21 million. Then next, the North Central, about 10.38 million. Then the Northeast, which is about 12 million. Then come to the Southeast too. Southeast has also the minority of about 10 million. So when you hear agitation that the VP should come from the Southeast, you should take into consideration that parties are looking at winning elections, not just not some jamboree. So you should not expect minority from the South to be paired with the minority from the North. That may not be the very best. One. Two, look at antecedent. The man has picked Southeast twice. What has happened? If you also look at it from the traditional angle, it also not for the best interest of the candidate to pick from the Southeast. Number three, you have a leading candidate from the same Southeast. So if you're looking at getting vote from there, I don't think it is also to the best interest of the candidate to pick from the Southeast. Then lastly, check out the result of the last election in Anambra State. They were able to barely bring out about 200,000 votes. There will be voters apathy in Southeast in the next election, except the Biafra agitators who change their this Monday sitting and let the environment be as peaceful as possible. So with that, the candidate is left with just two zones, the Southwest and the South-South. And of course, the candidate of the APC is from the Southwest. The best bet for him is the South-South. Now, whether the choice of the man he picked is the best, it is left to him. Whatever he has seen is the one that that will have the person to work with him. So you may say tactically, in terms of shopping for vote, South-South is the best option for him. So that choice of a South-Southern person, I think, is smart.
All right, BK, I remember yesterday you said because you now have Wike's name flying, Governor Wike's name flying everywhere, it might not emerge as Atiku's running mate. Now we have Ifeanyi Okowa. How impressed are you?
Well, I expected him to pick Okowa. Okay. I didn't expect him to pick Nyesom Wike. And when some media outlets went to town yesterday saying Wike had been picked. The PDP quickly came out to say, no, we didn't pick Wike. And I said yesterday that for them to have debunked it, it meant that Wike would not get it. So as we have seen, Wike did not get it. If it was their wish to give it to Wike, they would not have come out with the kind of strident denial that we had yesterday. So it was very predictable at the end of the day that Okowa will get the nod of Atiku. Okowa's Delta State, on the average, in the presidential election, they bring about 1 million votes minimum. Of course, Rivers also does well. Those two states in the South, if you have them, you are guaranteed a huge number of votes. So, naturally, that was the zone to go to for him. And then, of course, now, it can work for the APC in a way because it then means that the people of the Southeast have their own son on the ballot, on a different ticket. That is the Labour Party ticket. So they are likely to vote for him, meaning that some of the votes that should go to PDP may eventually go to Labour Party, and then Atiku will be the loser for that because those votes ordinarily could have gone to Atiku. But since he has failed to pick an Igboson as deputy, chances are that many of our friends in the Southeast will vote for Peter Obi, which would deny Atiku a good number of votes that normally go to him from the Southeast. This could play into the hands of the APC at the end of the day. But no doubt, if you read the speech, he was clearly looking for someone presidential in nature. Yes, and if you put Atiku, or if you put Wike and Okowa side by side, I mean, the difference is like night and day. Okowa is a two-term senator, two-term governor. He's been SSG, so he has the administrative acumen to function effectively in the absence of his principal. So Atiku was also looking at that, looking at someone who has capacity. You can't deny that Okowa has capacity. Even he's also an astute politician because there are some things that he has done this political season that governors before him who ran that state could not do. So he's not just a technocrat, he's not just an ordinary leader. He has also shown that political edge, that talent as a politician by some of the moves that he made during this electoral season by effectively pushing his own candidates to the forefront, unlike what we had in the past when there was one person who was determining who got what in Delta State. So he has shown that he can hold his own, and you need that kind of person, you know, by your side as a presidential candidate. So I think, by and large, Atiku made a good choice, but whether he can win the election, the answer is blowing in the wind.
All right, Kolawole, can he win the election?
Well, I don't believe in just, we have to subject that to empirical evidence and look at data. If you want us to go into that, don't forget that he ran with President Buhari last year. In the last election. And you can place his results side by side with that of the APC. He is from the Northeast. Despite being from there, he was only able to have about 1.1 million votes in that 2019 election, while APC had a whopping 3.2 million from that same place. Even when Jonathan from the South was on the ballot against Buhari, Jonathan, had about 800,000. So he was only able to pull just about 300,000, despite being the candidate from the region. And if in 2015 that Jonathan had that figure, he was against Jonathan then. So perhaps the literally was holding back is what is probably the God that added to the figure. So when it comes to that election, I think we should wait a bit before prevaricating in mental for about the election. Let's wait. When APC has made its own choice too, we'll be able to look at it. Not just on the surface, deeply what each region is, because it all boils down to vote. It is about the voting strength. For example, you can control the Northwest that has brought in about, on the average, between 8.3 and 8.4 million votes in the last two elections. 2015, I think it brought about 8.4. The last election, about 8.3. You can control that place, and you think you will lose the election easily. Don't forget that after Northwest, the next is Southwest. Southwest now has about 70 million votes, or so. And you don't expect...
Are you talking about eligible voters or...
Eligible
the
voters.
actual votes we see, because there's a big difference between...
Yes. No, eligible voters for Southwest.
Southwest, I'm not really taken in by the fact that the Southwest has a huge chunk of eligible voters.
Okay.
They don't come out to vote.
Okay. Now I'll also tell you...
Look at Lagos, for example.
Okay.
Lagos, for example, had more registered voters than Kano. Okay. Yes. Had more registered voters than Kano.
Yeah.
We check the record.
Yeah.
Now, how many of them came out on election day? When you put the result from Lagos side by side with Kano,
okay,
you can't. It will seem that you shouldn't even count the vote from
Let
Lagos.
me bring out one factor.
Why do people take the pain to go and register, and then on election day you see some of them playing football? That is the difference between the North, where I grew up, and the South here. They are a lot easier to mobilize on election day than the people here.
Okay.
And if you find it difficult to mobilize people, you are not going to
win the election.
Yes.
Now let's bring again the factors and indices to the table. While Northwest traditionally it's the center of that voting strength, the vote, MRs, and I've said they bring about 8.3, 8.4 million. In fact, they've been doing that consistently for long. But each election period, where the candidate comes from, plays a major role. Take, for example, when Jonathan was on the ballot in 2015, voters turned out, I think Northwest led, followed closely by South-South. But in the last election, South-South fell to number 4. No, 5th. It was Northwest first, Northeast came second. Not really the total vote, but in terms of voters turnout, Northeast came second, while North Central, Southwest came third. So I think if Southwest came third, without having a candidate in question, with this year that the Southwest is having the candidate of APC on the ballot, I think the voters turnout will change. Number one. Number two, there is this on tap voting strength that Southwest has not tapped into, even though it will not work solely for APC alone. You see, there are some people who are allowed on social media, the up and coming guys. Most of them know that they don't have PVC, they have, but they don't see the reasons to go vote. Next time around, they are mobilizing to vote. And it's going to add to the volume of votes coming from the Southwest. And don't forget that most of these guys, they reside, they are mostly resident in Lagos. So again, new voters are coming in, and I think it is also the job of political parties to mobilize from the period of voters registration. Don't just wait for the final election alone. Then lastly, you understand that in 2019, the game was quite different. he was a president seeking a re-election. And there was this, of course, aside from the normal or the usual, not normal now, the usual voters apathy you have down south here, you have a president that he had lost that momentum. So it's like people were not really, too pushy to vote. And Lagos State, most especially, it's a state that you have a lot of persons with that awareness. It is easier for you to go to the rural area to just bamboozle, folks to vote. Not in Lagos. They are educated voters, so it takes a whole lot to mobilize them. And I think the factor of the candidate coming from Lagos should help in that. So I think we should just put this issue of who will win the next election to rest until everything is settled. Then, we can go into data.
Our people need to change. There is no reason why. When I listen to you, I go down memory lane. I look at political behavior. Akwa Ibom State consistently outvotes Lagos. Is there a reason for that? Any election.
Okay.
Any election. And it's not as if the population of Akwa Ibom is close to that of Lagos. I mean, in the list of registered voters, Lagos is number 1. And then Kano. I'm not talking about this year.
Yes.
Talking about 2019. So if you were on top of the pile in our country, a state like Akwa Ibom shouldn't be outvoting you. There is a problem with getting people to realize that it makes sense to go and vote. There's a big problem of that air. You can sometimes 100 and 200 and something thousand votes in this state. I mean, it shouldn't be that bad. Why would you register and then refuse to vote? Why?
And this is also one thing the parties should also identify as a problem. I think it is easier for us in this part of the world to think election, don't worry, just wait, you throw your weight around, during the election and you win. It is not just enough. The parties should see this now as an issue to also address by first delineate the public you have in Lagos. You don't have the straightforward message, just one approach fit all. Delineate and be able to address each of these publics specifically with different communication strategy and mobilization strategy that will ensure that they come out to vote.
I just hope that will happen. Otherwise, we will have this election.
Yes.
We'll be back here. And I will remind you of what I said here. The people here don't want to vote. That is just the problem. All of the people that you are talking about, they are preparing, how come more than 6 million people will register to vote? And then you'll be talking about less than 1 million coming out on election day. You'll be talking about 500,000 coming out to vote. Is there any justification for that?
There is none.
I mean, the political education of the North, or the average Northerner, is greater than that of the average Southerner. And their current is the radio. The medium is radio. That radio, even the poor can afford it. There are many things that we don't know in our country that if we listen to BBC Hausa service, VOA Hausa service, we will know. There are big people who go to those places to say a lot of things that they don't say to Nigerian papers. And there are people, they are listening. And their political knowledge is getting broadened as a result.
You just brought...
All right, Kolawole, please, just a minute on this so we can... Please go ahead, just a minute so we can move on to...
You just brought something to the table, the language of communication. I mentioned here that you don't use a one-size-fits-all approach to communicate to everyone. Why is it that it is easier to reach the northern masses through the BBC Hausa and all that? Why don't they just stay in the stations that speak grammar always? Why do you think they go to those places? Because they know where they will reach their audience, and they go there. So part of the things we must do in the Southwest is to properly delineate and address each public specifically, not sitting down to think a single message will reach everyone or a single strategy will work for all.